lock them in. So the current roster here, as we do go over and take a quick look at exactly what they've chosen, and when we are loading in and getting ready to hop into the server now. So, I mean, Machiavelli, take a look at this here. What kind of compositions are we looking at for the two teams?
Well, it's interesting because only one champion per team and they can't switch. So I think we got a switch.
Last second switch there.
One last second switch. So I would imagine a very balanced. I'm not surprised seeing the one anarchy on each team. Probably is a good soul runner, right? And then you have other people who you want to disrupt. The points, whether it's the soul spawn point or the obelisk for defense or attacking. So having a Sorlag, a clutch, Sorlag I think is really good for sacrifice, especially you're controlling. You got to stand on the obelisk area. Having acid spit, going flying everywhere around the obelisk is doesn't help. When you're trying to defend, or attack for that matter.
And it makes to have a really nice, spread out compositions of both speedy and tanky champions for when you need to switch into a more defensive play style, and also when you need someone who can move fast and who can run the orb, and that's where the anarchy strength often comes into play there, especially on this map too. We see it picked a lot in duels for that reason, and I imagine it's going to come into play that we see it picked a lot in sacrifice for that very same reason, that he can run across the map very quickly and run that soul quickly as well.
I'm curious, Hardy Rod picked the Visor for his team, so. I want to see how good their communication is, and I imagine they're on voice and they communicate. So, I would, in my opinion, I think they're going to use it, when they have quad or protection, or maybe to somehow coordinate their attacks a little better. To coordinate their, the information about where the enemies are, so you can pass on that information. Especially if you get quad, right? You want to know that hey, they're all hiding in this area of the map instead of your quad just kind of running around randomly looking for people. So I want to see how good they utilize Visor in regard to team game, because it's been very useful in duel, as we've seen.
Yeah, so just getting through the warm-up now, guys, as everybody's loading into the map and whatnot, making sure we actually get everybody into the server and whatnot. And then we can begin here. So we are going to get a nice little preview of what exactly the sacrifice gameplay looks like here to start things off. And this is still early days in the tournament bracket itself. I believe we're starting off with a round of 32 match. Teams have to play forward all the way to the semifinals if they would like to try and qualify for their respective regionals, of course, for their region. So let's get into it. The red team is having a lot of fun with the smack talk. It's SXEdge Quake. It's having a little bit of fun with it at the start, but it is time. So let's begin, as the soul will be spawning within about 30 seconds here. Teams are going to fight, within 15 seconds, and then they are going to fight for control of middle in order to get over to that to start things off.
Yeah, the soul spawns relatively quick, so you don't have a lot of time to gather stuff.
Soul spawned.
There we go. It's picked up by the blue team first, so they are going to be able to move in and pick that one up, try to run it over to their respective base. And there we go. They claim it very quickly, too. And they are going to take the hallway base. But look at this. The red team already has moved into it. XL currently looking for the steal. Now, you need to stay on it for 3 seconds in order to get that full steal. XL almost had it, but got pushed off at the last moment for some reason. Wanting to pick up a few more frags here. Now moving back in. He's doing a lot of work with the rail, but not enough to be able to move in and steal this soul just as of yet. He's being pushed off that point too heavily, unfortunately. So he is going to be forced out and eventually taken down by Wind.
Can't seem to get anything going. They're playing some good defense, landing those good rails. Coming off the side hallways there, it seems like they're positioning a guy on each side and just kind of shooting in on guys who trying to come in and sit on the point.
Sentry J-Man looking for a way back in with his teammates too to try and steal it. First successful stolen soul getting off the point there. And they're hard trying to toss it a little away. You could say Sentry trying to make the run for it. Unfortunately, on the Galen, he's not going to be the fastest character. So trying to run it across the map on this character is going to be a little bit harder to do than on others. Looks like he's made it out, though, but once again, challenged out, taken down by Hardy Ra. And that goes back under the control of the red team as they do try to continue running it across the map. They're probably going to be able to make it. Exhale, even blocking for his teammate a little bit there. So they make it over to the other side, and now they've stolen the soul, and it goes over into point A.
Yeah, it was a nice steal. He knew he couldn't get away himself. He threw it down those stairs. And he kind of, worked their way over here. So even evening the game up a little bit. Just need some good defense right now.
Yeah, so things continue to broil here, and in a moment that power-up is also going to spawn out. Red team still holds control over the soul, but now with the power-up moving in, we are going to see the power-up going out, and the blue team claims it, so they're going to have a much easier time being able to move in and actually attempt to go and steal this now, as Win is going to be the one to do it. And you can see that he's got the quad damage, so doing massive amounts of it. And there we go as well. The nice charge from DJ Zero as he moves in, steals the quad back. And not only that, but he's going to save the obelisk as well. Continues to keep holding this on to the point. Time is running low on that quad. He needs to be able to push the rest of these players off, which he's doing. Nicely done on the machine gun there. Gets a lot of damage done, but at the last moment, Win does swing back in here and is able to steal the soul once more, and now runs it off the base just as the power-up is expiring.
That's some clutch play by DJ Zero there to get the steal the quad and defend for as long as he did with using it. So even though they lost it in the end, that gave him a little extra percentage they could use. It ended up being the difference later in the game. It's pretty evenly matched so far.
Well, the soul doesn't last long back on the blue team's point. They are trying to get it back under their control now. It is going to work for them. Hardy getting it onto the point himself, so he successfully makes it back over there. And that will go on to his team's obelisk. They currently just barely hold the lead for the time being, as they are going to push back this this little mini push coming in from the guys on SXE, but it's probably not going to be held off for too long. Just a few moments here that the blue team will have to themselves to sit back and try to buy themselves a bit more time. And already in comes back in SXEdge. They are going to try to once again steal this, but they split up on the way in here. The obelisk is going to get contested. They haven't been able to steal it just yet, but in a moment they're getting close to it. As Hardy Rock tries to swing back over, and finally Sentry, he is going to be able to move in, steal it, but it's not going to last very long. Exhale thankfully picks it back up. He's once again trying to make a run off this point, but he just can't get outside. And Zombie will get it back and should be able to easily just hand that right back off onto the obelisk.
Yeah, red team should have been a little more focused on getting this next power up. I think it should be a little more important than just charging the point like they were. A little focus on getting mega health and weapons and just getting ready for quad. This is going to be huge. This quad run.
And we do have the power-up spawn. Right now, it's gone under the control of Win, so he does have that little bit of an advantage to work on right now. They have the protection. He can get into these fights on the Anarchy, so it's not going to have as much effectiveness if it went over to someone like a Clutch or something like that, but still, Win's going to be able to get into these fights and get a lot more aggressive in hopes of holding back the members of SXEdge, and right now doing a great job of it. His team is closing in on just under 80% on their obelisk. If they get to 100, they're going to take round 1, and these maps are playing on a round of 3 basis.
Yes, power up just on a great rocket work here, defending the soul. I'll be lucky to get away.
Trying to run it, but there's just so much damage coming onto the obelisk right now. The blue team, guys on Accelerated, are doing a great job of holding onto it. Oh, right at the last second, actually. Exil steals it away. He once again is trying to get out of this point with it, but even on the clutch, down at 12 HP and knocked out at the very end of it by Hardy Rock. Is going to allow Wait for it to swing back over, reclaim it once again, and continue to start ticking back up towards 100%.
A pretty steady defense here. It looks like they have a strategy with positioning in terms of everybody shooting in the obelisk area. So they're working out well for them.
And probably one of the last attempts to actually steal it coming back out there from Sentry. He does once again find himself going down, so Hardy's going to have plenty of time to survive, run back out of here. They're not going to have enough time for another power-up spawn to come back in either here, so they're just making one last big push to try and get themselves over to this obelisk and steal it, but it's probably not going to happen. 99%. Now they have to just continuously stay on the obelisk or they will be losing this round, and there we go. The last attempt to steal it now. Wait for it's trying to deny it, but he's being held back by the opponent's Anarchy. They do get away with it, but dropped again onto the ground here. They're still trying to make a run for it currently, as the soul gets picked up once again here. And finally, Sentry going to get it back. It's still only halfway across the map, but a long way to run, and there's a lot of members from Accelerated Evolution sitting in the way currently. It just continues to get tossed back and forth. No one can hold control of this soul right now, as Hardy Rock swings back over here, tries to make one last run, and with this run, should be able to get it onto the obelisk. Still 1% away, as at the last moment they get themselves into the site and are able to contest it once again, and Exhale also steals it away again, so they're keeping it so close. But for whatever reason, Accelerated Evolution just can't get this last percent on the obelisk. They continue to delay it.
It's amazing, actually. You thought this game, you were just commenting out. We don't think there's gonna be another power-up. Boy, we're wrong at that one. They've been delaying very well.
It's finally gone back on. I think this is going to be it, though. Red team is a little bit too far away. It gets onto the obelisk, and there you go. Finally, Obelisk B will be sacrificed, and round number 1 goes to Accelerated Evolution.
A good round. Like I said, I think they had a nice strategy for shooting down at that obelisk position. Maybe the other team could think about maybe grouping up on bridge area and trying to take one of those flanks away from them rather than coming in from different angles one at a time.
Spawns in 15 seconds.
Well, we are back into the action very quickly, and once again, Soul should be spawning in the Blood Pit relatively quickly. Wind already moving in to try and get back control here, as the spawn is going to be coming up in a moment here. We'll see who gains control of it in the next few.
So
All right. DJ Zero getting a cheeky charge kill off in the meantime there by the side. But it's looking like the blue team is once again going to be able to claim it, this being accelerated evolution. So they steal it once more, and now are going to be able to move back in. They have very light control over the obelisk right now. There's still a lot of players from SXEdge moving in and contesting this, so this isn't exactly a secure obelisk just as of yet. However, at this point in time, they've been able to push their opponents off of it. And held it for those few extra seconds, so they get a nice little 15% off the initial cap. It did seem rushed, however. So SXEdge has now been able to move in, and they've been able to steal the soul away. And Pokerchip's going to have a nice, easy run. Doesn't even look like he really got challenged in trying to move it across the map there. So he does manage to sneak it away. And with that, see Pokerchip trying to defend this on his own. He needs some support, though. Finally gets it. 2 more players from his team move back in, but Pokerchip, unfortunately, still going to end up being in a relatively bad spot there. So he goes down.
It was a little outgunned by Wind there. It's like he lost that LG fight, and yeah, but you guys just got to coordinate and help each other out. As long as you got guys helping you from high ground shooting rockets, you make things difficult for your enemies. Just everybody's got to work together, try to avoid those one-on-ones.
Nice little charge from DJ Zero there, pushing his opponent off the point. Unfortunately, DJ Zero is not going to be immune to the damage forever, so he will eventually get knocked out. And Exhale tries to move back in to resist this steal, but it's not going to happen. His opponents do manage to get away with it there, and the power-up's coming up soon too. So even though the blue team, the guys from Accelerated Evolution, are escaping with this soul right now and are going to bring it back over to their point, they'll have to deal with this power-up, which is spawning in about 3 seconds here. That's going to be a little bit dangerous.
Power up spawn. Enemy has the
Immediately, the red team gets it, but oh no, they actually drop it pretty quickly. It goes back under the control of the blue team too, so this is a nice steal by Wait For It, as he's going to be able to move in, get that back, and now this is a great setup for the blue team. They just passed their opponent's percentage mark too. So they have the lead, they have this power up, and they've got pretty much full control over their obelisk. Nobody from the red team is even close right now.
Yeah, that was a big steal. So now they have a lot of security. Having a protection running around like this for a while, I mean, they're just guaranteed percentage points at this point. I mean, so the other team, I would think, needs to think about regrouping instead of diving in on the protection so much. And just get as many items you can and get a coordinated attack as soon as it ends. Yeah, the big problem for SXEdge here is going to be the fact that, again, they do kind of seem to be continuing to like dive in 1 or 2 players at a time instead of going for one big push. We saw that there after SXEdge originally did steal away this obelisk, even though the blue team got the initial cap. Accelerated Evolution did go back in just a few seconds later and were able to steal it back because they pushed it as one big group instead of staying apart and trying to sort of ninja it away. Yeah, it's very difficult going alone, you know, multiple people shooting at you, different angles, and it doesn't matter really how good you are at dodging at that point, you're going to get hit with something. And there's another problem here too happening with Hardy Ra right now as I'm looking at his perspective. He's being allowed to do so much damage from range. There is a lot happening, so these opponents need to be able to call things out from range. The problem is they just let Hardy Ra sit back over in the corner, back by where the Mega Armor spawns, and was able to pretty much just have free reign and just either, just spam rockets or spam rails, and he got a good 2 to 3 kills out of that last fight there, and once again made the push from the guys on SXEdge pretty much inept. And now he's going to spot this big play coming. He's got to get the heck out of here though. The charge coming in, and oh, the quick switch over to the rockets saves his own life. Not going to be necessarily safe just yet though, as there are more players trying to move in and push onto the obelisk here. He'll be taken down by Pokerchip. Pokerchip as well, even though he's doing massive damage right now. Only just now steal the soul away, and they're not safe just yet. The blue team is respawning. They're going to be right in the way of their opponents here. It goes down, back under the control of the red team, as they still try to steal it away, but the blue team is doing a good job of resisting this right now. DJ Zero with now the newly spawned power-up. He's got himself the quad to work off of, trying to move in, and now defend, as his team finally successfully gets the soul over to his team's obelisk, and they can start stacking up as well. But they have to be consistent at this point forward. They cannot afford to let their opponents get that soul back, as if they do, it's pretty much going to be game over here, as they're sitting at 96% right now. Yeah, they need a strong defense and just kind of hold good position right now and let these guys come in. Good railing there by Hardy Ra to break into the mega health area. Yeah, so for Exil here, he's sitting back in the clutch as kind of the main defender. He does have a teammate supporting him from a little bit further up, and thankfully he's holding him back right now. This visor up on top is not being allowed to make a whole lot of progress sitting further back, so he is kind of stuck up there currently, and there we go. Eventually he's going to fall too. Red team, SXEdge,
they get back full control of their obelisk, and they're getting a nice stack going here. Not a lot of contention going on to it, too, is that's the other thing. When they do jump onto it, they are going to slow the progress of that stack up there to prevent it from going up to 100%. But right now, SXEdge is actually doing a great job of just completely keeping the guys from Accelerated Evolution off the point to begin with. So this is just free percentage continuing to move forward for the guys on SXEdge.
This is good work right now. They seem to keep it up.
Wind and some of the others, they're on the way back. Blue team getting a little bit desperate. You can see they are splitting themselves up. But Zombie, he's being allowed to stay on the point right now, as now his teammate swoops back in on the Anarchy, and they do steal the soul away. So they're going to get that going for themselves. Windy trying to make a run. He's got the gauntlet out too. Almost slices an opponent's Anarchy on the way back, but he'll make this run, and there we go. Now the guys from Accelerated Evolution are going to try to end the map right here. Windy gets a nice little cheeky gauntlet kill right at the end, just as they sacrifice it and claim map number 1, 2-0.
Yeah, not a bad comeback by SXEdge, but you know, just too little, too late, as they say, right? I mean, they had given up such a huge, deficit early on, and wasn't able to overcome it. Even though they had a nice defensive run there, if they would have just been a little more efficient getting it early on and then had that run, maybe they could have worked at getting it back at the end, again there at late. So it just looked like Evolution Gaming was doing just a little more consistent work, just winning some of those fights and controlling the obelisk and the soul better. Like you mentioned, Hardy Ra was just kind of sitting by the heavy armor, doing what he wanted, putting out damage. And, a big part of these team games with Quake is kind of recognizing, who the primary target is you guys want to kill, and everybody like kind of focusing target, right? Focusing that damage. So you're all not shooting separate targets, so you kill one quickly, you kill two quickly, you move from target to target, and if you all are shooting at the same thing, things should die relatively quickly. So that's also a huge aspect of Quake, is making sure you guys are on the same page in terms of who you're shooting first and why.
In terms of the frag totals as well, it definitely seemed to favor the guys from Accelerated Evolution a lot better, just in the way that they played that one out. They had their top 2 fraggers pretty close to the high 20s, whereas I actually think the top fragger in that entire game came from SXEdge. I think I forget exactly who it was, but someone was sitting at right around 30 kills there. But the problem was the next guys down were only at like around 15 or less, it seemed like, whereas the blue team Accelerated Evolution just had way more consistency across the board with their ability to frag back out there, and overall just seemed like they had the better ability to kill and win much more of those larger 4v4 team fights when they actually did happen, and SXEdge wasn't just trying to go in solo and steal things away.
Yeah, it's just I think that's just a illustration of their superior positioning and preparation for their obelisk defense. So, and those guys are just trying to rush in and steal it, and they're feeding frags at that point because they keep running in, and they're getting shot from multiple angles. So it's really need to focus on making a coordinated effort when they're going to go into attack. And unless it's there's obviously situations where it's in the balance, and you want to keep trickling in because you've already put pressure previously in another engagement. But overall, you want to make sure you're working with your teammates.
Well, we are loading into our second map now, and as you folks can see, it's going to be on Burial Chamber now. So big map, lots of fun to be played on this one, a lot of very open rooms, so you're going to have a lot of rail battles going on, especially when teams are trying to move in and get initial control of the first soul spawn there when they try to take it to their choice of the obelisk. So it should be a lot of fun. Just waiting for like one or two more players to load back in, and I think we can go. There we go. So just get through the warm-up really quickly, and then we can get started with our second map. Keep in mind, best of 3 sets. So the blue team, the guys from Accelerated, do have themselves the advantage currently. If they're able to push through and win this map, and they are going to be able to claim this map or claim this series in a quick 2-0 set and push themselves forward into the next round. I believe the round of 16 is where they'll be moving on to. However, if SXEdge is able to strike back, then we will see this go over to a map number 3.
Want to see I think the obelisk by the heavy armor is going to be the primary choice for both teams. Usually I think that's where people like to go with the soul on this map, so that's the the higher elevation spawn, and they got a nice light armor in there with the obelisk area plus the heavy armor, basically a few strafe jumps outside the door, and then not to mention a nice high ground in there. So I think that'll probably be their primary choice.
I'm kind of curious now, because I was just checking out the players again to make sure like we're on the right side and everything like that, and I noticed that Hardy Ra's actually playing with an extremely high ping, so I'm kind of curious to see where he's playing from, as that does not seem like he's based directly inside of the continental US, as he's down in a good like 160 ping right now. I was like, he might be one of those guys playing from Australia, as we saw a couple of those in dual qualifiers too.
Yeah, I just noticed that now that you mentioned it.
Well, already the guys from the blue team, so this is going to be accelerated evolution once again. And I think so far they've gotten every single initial soul spawn and they've been able to run it. So they've had their choice of a base on every single round so far. So this is another problem here too for the guys on SXEdge, is that they're unfortunately just not doing a really good job with being able to control being able to control that initial soul spawn. They seem to be okay with wanting to go in for the recap as soon as it's claimed.
Yeah, getting your choice of obelisk, that's huge. I mean, it's your choice. You can decide what's the strong and weak side of the map, and not to mention you get that early lead with the percentage. I mean, every bit counts, so it's always good to get off to a good starting point. You know, you kind of build that momentum.
Nice couple rail shots from DJ Zero to get him out of the base. Unfortunately, still surrounded by the enemy, but the enemy may not even realize it. 2 rail kills in a row from him as he moves in and kills Wait For It at the end. He's a little bit low, so he does have to complete this run, but look, you could see all those little blue tashes getting in his way. There is a lot of enemies waiting for him on the other side of the map, so it's not necessarily going to be a safe run over to the other side. Accelerated Evolution is waiting for him over at the lava pit obelisk. He's going to try to toss it, but oh, it actually bounces off a wall. Thankfully, he was close enough to jump back in, and his opponent didn't immediately steal it back away. But what they are going to do is try to leap back in here. Zombie tries to get himself quickly back onto the enemy's obelisk. Does not work out. Same is going to be said of Hardy Ra as he does go down pretty quickly. And now they're in control, and they're going to start stacking up their obelisk. But hold on, there's one more player trying to move in for it. It'll fail, though. Wait For It goes down. And I believe at this point in time, Accelerated is going to have to fall back and reset a little bit here. Power-Ups is about to spawn, though, so they'll be able to move in and try to steal that away.
Enemy has the protection.
And it's going to be Zombie that actually grabs that, so blue team will have a little bit of an assistance now if they go in for the re-engagement. A nice shot from Zombie as well.
Nice.
Just knocked his opponent off the map. Didn't even need that power-up assist, actually, as his teammate was able to go in, steal the soul, and now they're making a run for it. Zombie just running interference here and assisting since he still has the protection. They can take a much better run of damage. However, the soul just goes down here, and now all of a sudden Zombie's lost control of it. He's got to try to chase it down while he still has his power up to assist him. This last player is alone, but look at the movement coming back out there. This player is just running away with that soul, and it looks like he's going to make it all the way back to the other side. Nicely done and nicely saved. The soul does successfully make it back over to the other side of the map.
Yeah, that was huge, man. I mean, they had the protection. That should have been their turnaround to tap on their side. But that was good defense, good save by SXEdge. Really good save. So they just need to keep playing good defense.
They saved it, but it wasn't for a very long time. Wait For It for the blue team for Accelerated Evolution has already got it back under his control, and he's made it over to the other side. He's not going to survive for very long. This is the problem with trying to run in and make these solo individual plays. Is yes, you may be able to get lucky and complete the run over to the other side of the map, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to stay safe here. As once again, the soul has been stolen in the hands of Poker Chip. He's going to take that one away and now run it back over to the other side here, as it will go back under the blue team's control. And really, to be completely honest, the opponents only got a good, like maybe 5 to 10% off of that recap there, so it wasn't really the greatest run, as it's kind of just getting tossed back and forth right now. And the soul actually sits idle. A good like 5 to 10 seconds there.
Yeah, a lot of chaos right now. Hardy Ra got the heavy armor, is able to pull it back, so he's going to be looking for some health, and expect a strong defense from him. He's picked up that heavy armor, so he's pretty stacked right now, and he's got the rocket launcher in high position.
Poker Chip trying to go on his own. He's already lost about 2 of his teammates in the last couple seconds or so they are on spawn timers trying to get back into this match. And for Poker Chip, thankfully the injection saves him there. Really doesn't feel good about going in for this, but I think they just cleared out enough of them. And now it's just dodging rockets. Gets the soul, making a run, but that last moment spit from Hardy Ra denies it, along with the rail shot there to take him down. So blue team Accelerated Evolution once again gets it back, and they've got a pretty solid, almost 60% lead here now. So this is going to be another attempt from the guys on SXEdge to try and move in, steal this away. They do have the full force of their team, but the full force of the defense is pretty much here too. You can see Exhale trying to go in to steal this soul, tearing through his opponents right now. He's going to be able to get it, but now he's got to make a run as his health is low despite having this protection power up. 23 HP is not going to be that great. In fact, the protection does save him there, but Wait For It steals it back at the last second with a nice little gauntlet kill up close.
Yeah, Hardy Ra with good position. I mentioned earlier he had the heavy armor. He just picked it up again. He's sitting on the high ground with a rocket launcher and a railgun, just shooting down at enemies. Nobody was even paying him any mind. He just had free reign, so he's going nuts on defense. It's going to be really hard for them to get anything going in regards to attacking unless they push him off position right now.
Yeah, so Poker Chip, one of those few players that is trying to move back in. The problem is now in addition to having control of the actual obelisk, they're being able to run back outside and try to make sure that they hold control of that full armor as well, as that is another thing you have to consider when picking bases, specifically on this map. It is essentially a choice of either having the mega health close to your obelisk or having the armor close to your obelisk. And most teams that I've seen so far have chosen to go for this obelisk over here, and what I like to call the church obelisk inside, as this is the one that does have the armor closer to it, and that tends to be a much better help for some of these players. Zero taken down by Wind, but at the end of the day, the blue team holds it, and Accelerated Evolution once again claims the initial round on the map.
Excellent defense from Hardy Ra there. I was watching him there at the end with the high ground, and he was just plugging people coming in with rockets, rails. Just really great job by him to keep that position and make himself a nuisance for SXEdge as they tried to come in and steal it.
Soul spawns in 15 seconds.
Well, for jumping into the second round here, we're going to see if the guys from Accelerated Evolution can once again keep their record perfect. Like I said before, on 3 out of 3 rounds that have been played across both maps so far, every single time the guys from Accelerated have been able to pick up the initial spawn here. This time, though, it is going to go back over to the guys from SXEdge. Can they complete the run, though? As PokerChip is trying to make a swing up on top, he is going to skip the jump pad. Not sure which point he's actually going for yet. He's kind of stuck in the middle, so I'm not sure if he got confused or he's just trying to delay or what the problem is here. Maybe having his teammates clear out the point for him a little bit, but finally completes the run over here. Still goes for the same spawn, though, so it actually doesn't seem like the initial run isn't being made that important, since both of these teams are okay with picking the respective sides. Red team SXEdge wants the lava pit, and the guys over on Accelerated are fine with taking the church spawn, so the initial spawn doesn't tend to be as big of a deal on this map since they both want the opposite base. Initial fight once again as the blue team does move in. Accelerated doing a great job. They do kind of overwhelm the point there and get themselves control over the soul. The initial runner tried to steal it and win another nice little ring out there as he bounces his opponent out with the rocket. Nice little hop for him. Not a lot of enemies staying in the way of this one either, so he should have a pretty free run over to his obelisk. And he's going to be able to claim that back. Only let his opponents get 18% on the initial run there, so not a whole lot being grabbed. Zombie jump back in there as well to defend. The problem is he has already lost control of the soul. That's being run at the moment by Exhale. He's already halfway across the map, making it to the other side. You can see the Anarchy.
Using that clutch.
Yeah. The Anarchy keeps trying to run people over with a gauntlet. He tried to do it again right there. But Exhale, even though he gets himself onto the point and gets the soul controlled, it's not going to be for a very long time. Wind is already on the point. He's stolen that soul back and stopped all progress. Thankfully, PokerChip is here, and he is going to be able to prevent that from being run too far out of the base. So it's a pretty easy run back over onto the point. And PokerChip still trying to control things here right now, but having to run back, and thankfully his teammates will control the situation. They hold control of it, but in doing this, they gave up control over the quad as that now goes over to Wind, and he's got the lightning gun ready to move into this point. That thing is going to tear some people up when he gets to the point, and there we go. You can see the quad damage, 28 per tick here, and he's just ripping through players. The double kill, and he make it a triple, and in fact he does. Moves in, deletes the enemy team, and is now going to pick up the soul and make a run to the other side while surrounded by his entire team.
Yeah, easy to get caught up in defense of your obelisk or soul running. You got to keep your eye on that timer and be ready for that power up. The quad run is just a huge turnaround, or if it's a protection spawn. Either it's just a game-changing power up. So you got to make sure you're there with your team.
Enemy has the soul.
So for Zombie now, didn't let his opponents, or didn't let his team, excuse me, steal back the soul. They just have to get it outside of the space. And they will get it back. There we go. Zombie manages to successfully defend for right now. That clutch is trying to move back in, and in fact, Exhale does grab the kill. So he's been able to move in, and he'll once again have another opportunity to run it across the map, but denied by Hardy. Picked up a moment later by the Anarchy, however, but he's going to have to drop that one as well. But in comes DJ Zero to run a little bit more interference, trying to stop from being run back into the blue team's point.
Nice little play by Hardy Ra. Got rid of the soul. His opponent didn't realize he threw it behind him. I know he's trying to finish off the kill, but he maybe could back off, tried to run with the soul instead and leave Hardy Ra there low. It's really hard to say because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, Sentry J-Man back over here. He's going to make another attempt to go in and steal this soul now. He's got it, so has to get outside. However, Hardy Ra steals the kill and now has himself an attempt to run interference here, as unfortunately he still ended up losing the soul from his base, and the Skilder I think is going to be able to save his soul carrier there. Yep, DJ Zero moves in, snatches that one away, and the soul looks like it's going to complete its run back over to the other side into the hands of Exhale once again as he makes a run, but nobody can hold control of this, man. This is just a constant battle for the control over the soul here.
Power-up
moment, that
spawn.
power-up should be spawning
Enemy has
too.
the protection.
For the time being, it'll go into the hands of Hardy Rock over from Accelerated. But he needs to do a little bit more work with it here. Thankfully, his teammates are ready to jump back in, and Hardy Rock should be the guy that can leap onto the obelisk now and easily still control the soul. He's basically taking no damage with that power-up. And there we go. It's not him that actually grabs it. It's going to be his teammate that steals it away, but he's going to take the brunt of the damage, as you can very well see here. That lightning gun, while he has the protection, is going to do absolutely nothing to him. He's nearly immune. He can eventually be taken down, but it takes a lot of work to knock that guy out when you have the protection power up. Thankfully, all this interference that he's run, they're going to complete the run to the other side.
SXEdge doing a much better job this time on the obelisk. Even when they're attacking, it seems like Accelerated is just not getting the same defense they did in round 1. So see if they can turn it around and get a strong defense here to close off the game.
Windy up on top, or Wind, excuse me, up on top here, working with the rest of his teammates. They have been able to, for the time being, kind of lock down this site. There are still a few players from SXEdge poking at this one. Problem is, though, is that they are a little bit behind their opponents currently, so they need to make sure that they can have a clean run, get themselves up to a good 70 to 80% before the guys from SXEdge are given another opportunity to swing in and actually steal that soul away.
30 seconds on this next power-up, too, so both teams need to be ready for that. Whoever gets this next power-up could very well win the game. So,
nicely done from Zombie. Just holding off these choke points with a nail gun, doing plenty of work with that weapon. Power may be one of the few things that can actually save the guys from SXEdge. Just all of a sudden, they fall behind to a huge margin. Look at this. Finally, the guys from Accelerated were able to lock down control of their church here. Now they're just denying any attempts to even get inside of the room there. Just trade kills when it's needed. The spawn is going to come in a second here, and the blue team is even over here. The guys from Accelerated are about to control the power-up as well, so we're going to see, wait for it. Well, he's waiting for it, and in a second, he should be able to pick it up. No contestation on it. Gets himself a free quad, and now we're just going to run over to his base and hold on it as I... Pretty sure the guys from SXEdge are going to have to give up on this round. They maybe have one final attempt to push onto this obelisk and steal it away, but no hope when, wait for it, is pretty much at full health with the quad. And unfortunately, that seems to be the issue that has continued to be a problem for the guys on SXEdge. Once again, they're not able to get good control over the power-ups. And there you go. Accelerator are going to be able to push through, and they will win this series 2-0.
Yeah, no real presence at the power-up spawn for SXEdge, and that was clearly a huge factor in the map. In both maps, actually. I mean, it just seemed like Accelerated was able to get control of the power-ups for a large majority of the game.
Look at Hardy Raw again, man. Despite that ping, let's see if we can pull it up.
Oh yeah, I was watching him, man.
30 and 11 with 168 ping. That's impressive.
No, he was plugging people. He was plugging people with that railgun. I was watching him. So even in the first round, when he had that high position, I'm just like, he's invisible up there. He's just sitting there shooting at people. It's like he was getting no shots back at him in interference, and he was just making them pay. He really was making them pay.
Well, guys, we are going to go to a short break really quickly, as that does conclude our first match for the time being. Be sure to stick with us, as we should have another match coming up in just a few moments. So stick with us, and we'll have another sacrifice match here for the first